I'm really super excited about this project because it's going to turn out super cute and very functional for your smaller kids, or maybe like a change purse to put their lunch money in. Here are the supplies that you'll need. 2 3x5 pieces of fabric, one for the liner and one for the front of the bag. 2 more pieces of fabric measuring 4 inches by 5 inches. 2 more pieces of fabric, one for the liner and one for the back of the bag, measuring 5 inches by 5 inches. 2 pieces of 2 by 2 inches fabric pressed in a diagonal shape for the corners of the bag. Now I'm using felt for mine. Why? Well, because I couldn't find any green cotton in this color. So I think that's going to turn out really cool and give the bag some texture. 1 piece of gross grain ribbon measuring about 2 inches long, and you can go from 1/2 all the way up to 1 inch wide ribbon. I just chose what I had on hand. 1 key ring, optional as well, if you plan on using the ribbon loop. 1 6-inch long zipper. The zipper, we do not want metal teeth because you don't want to break a needle on your machine. So plastic teeth, please, because we will have to stitch around this zipper. And there you have it. Let's get started. I've hooped a thing of sticky back stabilizer because you guys know I am all over this sticky back stabilizer now. I absolutely love it. So I've already loaded the design in the embroidery machine. This is the 4x4 Brother SE400 that we're using today. And what it's going to do in this first step is do our placement lines for the zipper. Okay, so let's go ahead. I've loaded the embroidery thread in the color of the primary fabric that I'm using, which I'm using yellows for this because it does remind me of Crayola crayons. So the chevron pattern I'm using as the liner and the solid yellow I'm actually going to use as the outside of the bag because I want the face to show through, as you'll see in the final project. And also, just to be on the safe side, I got some painter's tape. I normally would want to use the embroidery tape, but for right now this is what I have until my embroidery tape gets here. And so this is for us to attach the fabric on the back side, as you'll see in this step coming up. All right, what I'm going to do is go ahead and stitch the placement lines for our zipper. As you heard, it sticks a little bit, but not by much. So let's lift our presser foot. And what I'm going to do is take this off. Now you shouldn't have to, but I'm gonna take it off so that you guys can see it a lot better. Now we have these 2 railroad tracks for our zipper placement, right? And you need to make sure you keep note of where these lines are. And we're going to take our zipper and we're going to place it on top of the stabilizer and line them up with these lines. And face up, as you can see here, is where we're putting our zipper. Okay, doesn't matter that it's hanging off, we just need the zipper on here. So now that we have the zipper, let's go ahead and put it on the machine. now that we have the zipper, it's stitched down, let's go ahead and take this off so that you can see it. The zipper is now stitched in place. Okay. Take 12. So now that we have our zipper in place, now it's time to go ahead and start putting our bag together. All right. Now, as I mentioned before, the chevron fabric is my lining. All right. And the yellow fabric is my actual outside to my bag. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and attach the lining to our hoop. All right. Keep in mind that this larger section on the 4x4 hoop is the actual inside pouch of the bottom of the bag. The smaller section up top is, of course, the top of the bag. So the larger pieces, these 5x5 pieces, are the ones that construct the bottom part of the bag. Now that you know that, you need to know that we're going to turn this over and we're going to start with the back. And this is my lining. And in order to get the hoop prepared for the lining of the bottom, we have to put this along the top of the bag. And it will make sense as we continue to construct the bag. So let's go ahead and we're going to put our fabric face down. Okay, so this is the right side. This is the wrong side. So we're going to lay this on the back of this hoop, on the back of the stabilizer, and we're going to use this straight edge and line it up along the bottom of the zipper where we're actually covering the zipper. Okay, so you can't see the zipper anymore, and we're lining it up against the bottom part of the zipper railroad tracks. Okay, so at this point you can do one of two things. You can attach this with spray adhesive if that's something that you use, or glue or pins. In this instance, I'm actually going to use some of this painter's tape. Okay, only because it's right here, it's easy, and I can just go ahead and attach it. Or if you have clips and you use clips with your frame, you can just clip it on. That's something you can do as well. But you definitely want to make sure that however you attach this, you want to make sure that when you put this back on your machine, that this lays straight. Okay, you don't want this to bunch up under this frame, because if it does, then that's pretty much how it's going to sew, and your lining will be bunched up, and you don't want that. So we've attached the lining fabric to the back side of our hoop along the top, and it's covering the zipper and lined up along the bottom of that zipper. Okay, now we come back to the front, and we're gonna pull this up and make sure that's laid out the way, and we're going to take our front facing fabric, and this we're going to do the exact same way as we did for the lining of the bag. We're going to mirror this on the front. Okay, and we're going to take this edge and we're going to line this edge up just like we did on the back along with the bottom of that zipper. All right, so this is the bottom part of the bag, but we're laying it along the top part of the bag. And as I mentioned, you'll see how it comes together here in a moment. So because this is sticky bag stabilizer, I'm going to smooth this down to help it stick some. And I'm holding this out of the way. And just to be on the safe side, I'm going to go ahead and reinforce it with a couple of pieces of tape just to be on the safe side and make sure that this stays laying in place like it's supposed to. All right. So now that we've done that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this on the machine, and we're going to go ahead and stitch the placement line that tacks both of these pieces of fabric together on the hoop. So again, you want to make sure that you can see both pieces hanging off the top of this hoop. Slide it on, and we're going to clip this in place. And it looks like my top piece moved just a little bit, so I'm double checking that. And now that it's there, I'm going to go ahead and tack that down. now that that's tacked in place, let's take this off of the machine again. And now we can take the tape off of the front of the bag. Not necessarily the lining. Right now we're working only with the front. Once we remove these front pieces of tape, now you want to take this front piece of fabric and bring it down over to where it's going to be the bottom of the bag. So we're flipping it over basically. And this way we're creating a seam for the front of this pouch where the zipper is. So now that I have this folded down, what you can do is you can pin this in place to make sure it stays nice and straight. Or like I said, this is sticky back, so it may hold it in place. Or if you want to use your spray adhesive, either way, we want to make sure that this stays nice and straight for our next stitch. Okay, so now that we have that folded down, the back is still folded up. We're going to put this back on the machine. Make sure again that this is nice and straight down here on the bottom. And now what we're going to do is stitch our next step, which is basically going to outline where the bottom of the bag is. It's turning out super cute already. So now if I take this off, you don't have to do this. I'm only going to take it off to show you. So now that we've gotten the bottom of the bag, this is pretty much how big your bag is. It's 4x4, of course. So we have to stay within our parameters. But here's the bag, and it's stitched down, and it's a nice seam. So our next step is pretty much going to tell us where we're supposed to put our corner pieces. All right. So again, we're leaving our back fabric out of the way. All right, now that we have stitched out our placement line for our corner pieces, now we want to get our two corner pieces that we folded in half and pressed into a triangle shape and place them on the lines. Now what you want to do is put the folded edge towards the inside of your crayon bag. So give me a moment, I'll take this off and show you how we're going to place that. So here's your triangle, and what we're going to do is pretty much line this up with that and place it where the opening is to the outside of the bag. And we're going to do that to both sides. Now if you wanted to, again, for reinforcement, you could tape it down or use spray adhesive or glue stick to hold it in place, and make sure again that this back piece is still up, and put it back on the machine. And now we're going to stitch these two pieces down. Now I want to point out something because I see that I made a mistake. Okay, let's take this off and take a look. Now notice that these two are off just a little bit. All right, now under normal circumstances, for giving this to someone, I would definitely take this a loose, and actually I'm going to go ahead and do that because this is such a cute, fun little project. I really want it to turn out just so. So I'm going to go ahead and unstitch this because it's not finished. And then I'm going to replace it. And to keep the video from being so terribly long, I'm going to stop the video right here and go ahead and get these stitches taken out. All right, and that's pretty much why I keep a seam ripper handy at all times. I mess up quite a bit, which is kind of embarrassing to admit to, but it's the truth. All right, so now that I have taken this off and I can clearly see where these stitch lines are going to be, I'm going to line this up a little better than what I did before and place it along just above that stitch line, that placement stitch line, because obviously that's where the cutoff is going to be. Okay, and I'm probably still not going to get this 100% right, but it'll at least be lined up a lot better than what it was. So now that I have that on, and this is still up out of the way, the back side of that fabric, I'm going to put it back on the hoop. And what I'm going to do, because I made an error, it's already stitched all the way up to this point. So I am going to have to back the machine up. So I'm going to hit adjust, and then this middle button showing the needle and the plus and the arrow, and I'm going to back up the needle by pressing the minus needle on the screen and start back right there at the edge. And now we're back to the beginning of that. Very handy little backup thing to get us lined right back up to where we're supposed to be. And now I'm putting my foot down and we're going to try this again. All right, it's still off just a little bit, but that's only my OCD that can tell that it's not 100% right. But here are our corner pieces. Now what's going to take place is the rest of the face on the crayon bag is going to stitch out. So let me go ahead and get all of my different colors together and start doing that part. So now we're going to stitch the tongue. Now we're going to stitch the rosy cheeks. How cute is that? So now what we're going to do is go ahead and finish constructing our bag. Because I am the type of person that not everything goes perfectly, and I want you to learn from my mistakes, okay? The whole point in this channel is to showcase the different things that we can do and to also help you avoid the mistakes that I make. So I want to show you, and I really almost wanted to cry, but to show you how important it is to pay attention to your work. Look at what happened to the back. Remember, we were supposed to keep this up out of the way. So at one point when I took this off of the machine, this got caught up under the stitching. So now it's stitched up under the eyes and part of the cheek on the back of the thing. Now I could just scrap this whole thing and just start all over, but I'm not going to do that. So what I'm going to do is cut this out so that we can go ahead and finish the video, because again, the point is for not necessarily for me to have a perfect bag, as it is that you guys get to see how the process works and also learn from what I do and not to repeat the bad things. I did also take the moment to redo the front, but that's the other point too that I was going to bring out. This is the inside. This is the lining. So the lining really doesn't matter because it's going to be on the inside of the bag. But in a way it matters because things can fall through to the inside, but there's a good possibility, and we'll see once I flip this down. And it does. Look at that. Despite that, look, it's going to be below where the pouch stitches out. So I was fortunate. I really was in that. So I'm not too terribly upset anymore because I was kind of hot about that. So that's the cool thing. You can just flip this over and now that bottom part isn't even going to be there. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and pin this down. And of course I have, I got a couple of pins here. I'm gonna pin this in place along the bottom where it will not be stitching, so that it'll hold this instead of taping it down. I kind of got tired of doing the painter's tape. It doesn't hold very well, so I don't even know, that's frog tape and it doesn't hold very well. All right, so I have that pinned down now, and this bottom part of the bag is already stitched out, so we're good. Now the bottom part, the lining, is pinned down. So now the next thing that we're going to do is do the top part of the bag. Now the pieces to the top part of the bag are the smaller rectangles. Now the back and the front of your bag are bigger, okay? So these are the ones, the 3x5 are the ones we want to work with now. And remember, this is the front and this is my lining. So we're going to take this and we're going to line this and cover over the face of the crayon pouch and line it along the top of the zipper. All right, so what I'm going to do in this instance is I'm going to pin this here. And I know I was using tape before, but like I said, me and the tape are having trust issues right now. So we have it pinned on the front. And now I'm going to flip it over. Yeah, straight. And we're going to do the same here, cover over the back and line against the top of that zipper. And I'm going to try and utilize this tape again. So give me one moment and we'll tape this down. All right. And it's crooked, so let me make sure that's lined up just so. Actually, it's this part that's crooked. All right, and tape in place. I don't like that tape. And now we have the back and we have the front. All right, so let's go ahead and put this back on the machine. So now that we have our top part and it's covering the face and it's lined up with the top of the zipper and it's the same way on the back. So we're gonna, and the fabric on the back is face down on the back. Face of this fabric facing the back part of the lining. And let's put it back on the machine. And I'm going to put the yellow back on. And now we're going to tack down both of these pieces. And now we're going to go through the same steps like we did for the bottom part of the bag and take off the front. Leave these taped down. And now we're going to flip the top part over. And we're going to smooth it in place. And put it back on the machine. And now that we have the placement for the top part of the bag, now we're going to do our crayons. And of course, the colors of the crayons are entirely up to you. And of course, now my bobbin thread wants to run out. I always keep extra bobbins already handy for me to change out. I'm going to back it up a couple of stitches so that we don't have any gaps in our embroidery. Now what we're going to do is take this off of the hoop. And the next step is completely up to you. You can take the time now to trim these jump stitches, but I'm going to skip that step for right now. But I will trim this jump stitch, and it's the one that goes over the top of the zipper right here, because when I hooped my zipper, I put the zipper over here to the right. Now at this point, what we're going to do is move the zipper to the middle of the bag. Okay, and that's really important, because if you don't move the zipper at this step, then your zipper is going to be stuck on the outside of the bag. So now that we have the zipper moved over, then we want to get our gross grain ribbon ready. I'm going to put this back on. Nope, missing a step again. Got to remember our steps. Now we're going to flip the back part of the lining up. It's time for this to come up. Okay. And now we can tape this in place, or if you want to pin it in place, especially since we know that it's going to not stitch up this high, we can go ahead and pin it there. All right, it's pinned in place. And so now we're going to put it back on the machine. And we're going to put our yellow back on. And that's our placement line for our ribbon. So fold your ribbon in half. And now what we're going to do is place the ribbon right there. And normally you could pin it in place. I know to hold my finger out the way. I don't usually suggest anyone keep their finger near the needle, but you can tape the ribbon in place with a piece of tape. I'm gonna hold it. And now our ribbon is in place. So let's take a look at what we have now. So we have all of our decoration on it, embroidery decoration. And then we have our ribbon for our key fob. This is where the little key ring is going to go. Everything is stitched in place. On the back, our back part is of our bag lining is taped up, and back here our back part of our bag lining is pinned down. So now what we're going to do is move to putting our front and our back on our crayon bag. So now let's go ahead and take our front part of the bag. Yellow is my front fabric, and I'm going to lay it face down on my project, making sure that I'm covering every part of the stitch, because if you look at it, you'll see the outline pretty much around where the final stitch is going to go. So you just want to be sure that your fabric covers all of that stitch. All right, you can pin this in place, you can tape it in place, you can spray adhesive it in place, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold it in place as it stitches out. And now the final step is to put your lining on the back of your bag. And what we're going to do is tape it down. Well, that tape no longer wants to work, which is why I don't particularly care for this tape. And now we'll stitch our last color stop. And our embroidery part using the machine is done. So let's go ahead and unhoop our project. And what we can do is take out these pins so that we don't stick ourselves when we take it out of the hoop. Remove any and all tape. And now we can pop it out of the hoop. Now, because I used sticky bag stabilizer, I have a mess that I have to pull off to tear away from the outside of the bag. Okay. Okay, and now what you want to do after all of that is removed, we want to cut around by following this lining side and cut around where the stitches are. So you don't want to cut on the inside, you want to cut to the outside. So let's go in like this at an angle. And be careful because you're cutting through all 4 layers of fabric. And you don't want to cut through any of these stitches. And with this, you want to use a good pair of scissors because you're also going to cut through the zipper. And now you cut away, give yourself like a little tab and cut away from the edge, not close to that. You want to bring it out like a little tab. And what we're going to do is this layer is stitched shut, that's stitched shut. So you want to find where there's an opening, and we're going to work and turn this little bag inside out. So it's going to take some time without something blunt. You don't want to use something sharp to push this through. Okay. Just take your time because you don't want to tear your cotton fabric. Now, I do want to point out that everything, with the exception of the green corners that I use with this, is cotton fabric. And I only did the quilter squares that are found at Walmart. I just got 2 quilters squares for my yellow and my chevron. All right, now that I have most of it inside out, I'm going to get my sticks and poke out the rest of this. Matter of fact, I'm just going to use this lead pencil, and I'm going to be really cautious. So I want to poke through any of my stitches, being really careful, and poke out these corners. You don't want to be too rough, but you do want to get your corners out. And then you poke out your last corner. And look what you got here. Well, now that we've turned it inside out and poked out all of our corners, what we're left with is what looks like just a weird looking pouch lining only. So what we're going to do at this point is close this opening. All right. Now we left a little bit of overhang, and I'm going to show you a really easy way to close this off. Now, some people would choose, and that's perfectly fine, to close this off with like a ladder stitch, kind of how you would sew a pillow close or something of that magnitude. Or you also could have left it sticking out straight and just sewed it shut that way. But a really quick and easy way to close this is pretty much the same way I close up my baby bibs and the burp cloths and the blankets prior to me top stitching. But we're not top stitching this, but we're going to go ahead and close it that way because this is the actual lining. It's not going to be seen. It's going to be on the inside, and pretty much all we need to do is just seal it shut. So what are we going to do is take the easy route, and we're going to put a piece of stitch witchery here and then press it closed. So give me 1 sec and we'll go switch over to the ironing board. So I'm here at the iron. My iron is hot. So what I'm going to do is lightly press just to get some of my wrinkles out. Not that it matters, because as I mentioned prior to, this is just the lining. And I'm going to tuck this in. All right, and now we are going to take a look at how wide this is. Take us a piece of the stitch witchery and tear it off. And what we'll do is kind of sandwich it in half because it's such a narrow opening or narrow piece of flap that we're going to be gluing together, and tuck it in there just like so. And once that's tucked in there, you don't want to have any of it hanging out, because what happens is the hot iron touches it, it'll melt to the iron, and it makes a messy sole plate on your iron. So now that that's laid down and it has the stitch witchery in there, now I know my iron is super hot, so I'm going to be pretty quick holding this thing down. And let's check and see. Yep, that's a pretty good seal. I'm going to hit it again just to be sure, because it was a few layers we were going through. And it's sealed shut now. Ooh, and hot. So now this is what you have. This is what you're looking at. Is a what? I don't see my crayons. I don't see anything, right? What we need to do at this point, you can take a seam ripper and carefully take out this tearaway stabilizer. Now, because I use the iron on mine, it may want to put up a fight, and mine was the sticky back stabilizer, so I'm going to be fighting against glue as well. But I'm working this out. If you're using just regular stabilizer, that's fine. It would be easier on you to get this off because you don't have to fight the glue from the sticky back stabilizer. And then, as I mentioned earlier, I hit it with the iron a little bit, so I'm going to be fighting that somewhat as well. But just be careful when you're tearing this off. For those of you who use the non-sticky back stabilizer, what the designer of this, Miss Melissa at Little B Designs, suggested is that when you use stabilizer for this, the tearaway stabilizer that you should use should be soft stabilizer. The softest tearaway stabilizer that you can find, she says, because the stabilizer is going to remain in part of this pouch. You won't be able to see it, but it'll be there for forever. So you want it to be soft, not that super hard, rigid tearaway stabilizer that's commonly found out there inexpensively. And I'm trying to work this out without ripping my zipper. So you see, for me, the sticky back is great for helping hold the zipper in place, but it's also a pain to expose the zipper after the fact. So now that I have all of this torn away and off of my fingers, get that one little piece, sorry, I was adding time. Now we have our, remember we left our zipper partially open. Let's work our finger in there and try and push that open the rest of the way, which is going to be a little bit difficult because my zipper anyway is rather old. So I'm unzipping it, and now it's open the rest of the way. And so now we're going to turn this little booger inside out through the zipper opening. And look what we have here. This is a lined, no embroidery stitching exposed whatsoever, cute, adorable little crayon pouch. Just that simply, just that easily, all done in the hoop, and a 4x4 hoop at that. So how totally cute did this turn out to be? Look at this. Tell me that this would not be adorable to send to the schoolhouse for lunch money, for little teeny crayons for the smaller kids. Fully lined. It has lining, and it is totally adorable. This is totally adored. And you can do this on your 4x4 machine. Now, the really cool thing is today is August the 8th, I believe. Let me make sure before I tell a fib. Today is the 8th of August, Tuesday. Ooh, child, can you tell I'm old? 2017, right? So because today is August the 8th, 2017, you have until Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 3 more days. If you are watching this YouTube video, you have 3 more days to go to Designs by Little B website. And I am going to leave a link in the description below. And you can purchase this design. And it's on sale right now for $2. Let me tell you what you get for $2. You can purchase this version that's lined, okay? And it comes in 4x4. Where's the paper? 4x4, 5x7, 6x10, and 8x12. So you can get this as big as an 8x12 pouch, okay? Now, for those of us who are the 4x4, of course, you know, we're pretty much just going to use the 4x4 hoop. But eventually, as you upgrade, you'll have the larger sizes when it's time for you to upgrade your machine. She also has a version of this that doesn't have the lining, where it's just the outside fabric, okay? That's a different pattern. That's $2 right now until Friday as well, this coming Friday. So please, this is too cute to pass up. All right, run over there and purchase this embroidery design. If you want to give an In the Hoop project a try, this is an excellent one to start with, because this will probably be just about the most difficult thing you would do on an In the Hoop project. Okay, if you can do this, you can do just about every other In the Hoop project there is out there. But for me, I just wanted to give you guys a back to school project that can be done in the 4x4 hoop. Since yesterday we did the pencil pouch on the 6 needle machine, today is all about the 4x4. And here you have something, I can't get over how really adorable this is. When I saw it for the first time, before I even bought the design, I was like, oh my God, I have to do this project. And I contacted Melissa and asked her, could I do a video showing how to do the 4x4, and she readily agreed and told me, you know, go for it. So I'm super excited. I'm grateful to her for letting me have this opportunity to showcase her little design. Designs by Little B is an excellent site. I've been following her for quite some time. She's one of the many talented In the Hoop designers that I follow on a regular basis and purchase designs from. But this one I couldn't resist doing a video on. So you guys, I thank you so very much for joining me on this video with this tutorial. And I promise you, if you can go and get this little gem, you will not regret it, because this is too daggum cute to pass up. I mean, I'm sitting here like, okay, I'm about to rock this in my Kate Spade bag. I'm just telling you, I'm about to rock it. Okay, so please take an opportunity, go get the design and give it a shot. You can do this step by step. You saw I made mistakes. It's okay. We're gonna make mistakes. This can be made with fabric scraps, for crying out loud. It doesn't even have to be the yellow and green. I just chose that because this takes me back down memory lane to my childhood. But go ahead, give it a shot. And when you make yours, send me a picture. I would love to see how your pouch turned out, because I have faith in you and I know that you can get this done. It's not that hard and it doesn't take that long. The prep time actually takes the longest to get this done, instead of the actual stitching out and all of that other kind of sense to it. So thank you again. I appreciate you guys for joining in with me. If you enjoyed this video and you found it useful, please give a thumbs up, hit the like button down below. Also, would you please consider subscribing to our channel, because we do tutorials on a regular basis. Tuesday is Tutorial Tuesday and Thursday is our live session, Thinking Thursday, and we also go live on Sundays, Sunday evenings and Thursday evenings. This week is a special week for back to school projects and ideas. Today is this cute little pencil pouch, and yesterday we had a different pencil pouch that we embroidered the name on the 6 needle machine. Tomorrow is a whole new project, so I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Until the next time I see you with the next project, you know what we want? We want you to have happy embroidering.